I would suggest if that's the intent of anyone today, let's bring it back in July, August, September, whatever you all see fit. Let's don't rock the boat today and kill a budget that we've already done. Plus have to call the cost of re-advertising, not only the nonprofit section, but also the actual budget documents. It has to also be in the paper. It has to be in there 10 days prior to the public meeting. I don't even know if we'd have time to even get it done in July if we were to do that now, if you disrupt it. So that's my same nonprofit speech that I give every year, but just want to make sure everybody understands why, what we have to do. And again, that's following the TCA. That's not a financial management rule that I just come up with. We have to do it that way. We have to put things in the paper for the public to be aware of what is coming up on the budget. Does anybody else have any questions for nonprofits or?
This deadline for passing the budget and everything, that's not a TCA.
You know, can you lean up?
I'm sorry. This, having the budget done by July 1st, that's not a law by the legislature. We have to have it done by then, is it?
That is correct. It is in our budget calendar. If you look at the financial management policies and procedures, we have to follow a budget calendar. And also it's in TCA that we must follow a budget calendar. No, it is not, we're not being in violation if we do not have a budget approved in June. However, it's good practice. As soon as a budget is adopted, I have within 15 days to have the budget document sent to the state for approval. And that's something you all may not realize. The state actually approves our budget to make sure that we're in good standing, especially under the Department of Education. There's another layer on that. Not only does the state approve, Department of Education has to approve. So they want to see it in as soon as possible. However, if we don't approve a budget today, we're not going to be any kind of violation, but it will be going against our budget calendar. And I don't suggest we do that, especially when the budget committee is met and we have everything was ironed out there. But we will not be in violation if we do not approve it today.
I don't disagree with that. That's probably good financial management, physical management for the county and everything. But I know that a lot of counties can't agree or they can't get their budget balance on time. And, I know one county went all the way up to October. And what they do is they just make a motion for a continuing resolution and they work on the budget they had that current year until they get a budget passed. That's correct, right?
Not anymore, because there's been so many issues district or statewide, and especially in conjunction with the school system and the county commission not agreeing. They actually put legislation in place to prevent that. So I think, and I hate to even say this publicly, but I want to say I think it's either September 1st or August 1st. I think that the statute maybe reads is August, but with the school system, I think if you don't have a budget, agreed upon budget, then you don't give you the prior year's budget. The county commission can't keep going back and forth with the school system. So they have put legislation in place to kind of prevent that, because it's not good practice to go that far into a budget on a continuing budget for the prior year. It's just not good practice to do that.
Okay, that's what you did. I didn't know.
Yes, sir, that they've done, and I do believe now it's an audit finding when you don't have your budget approved. And I want to say that's August 1st, but again, don't quote me on that. I've never really had to research that, because since I've been director, we've always approved a budget that I can remember in June. That's a practice I hope we continue. I think it's very good fiscal responsibility. Our department heads are anxiously awaiting to get a budget approved in July to know where they stand. And I think extending that is not only going to make life more difficult for my office, but also for our department heads who depend on a budget to get it up and running, so they'll know where they stand.
Mr. Reedy?
Yes, if we do not approve the budget today, the potential is pretty high that we cannot get everything done to vote on it in July. If that happens, then you're voting on it in August. When you're voting on it in August, you're voting, it has to be voted in by a new commission, which the percentage of present commissioners and new commissioners is going to change. The present commissioners is going to change, no doubt. And there has to be a learning curve for those coming on. You can't ask a new commissioner to, well, we're gonna, you're sworn in today, let's vote on the budget. You can't do that because they're voting on something that they don't fully understand without going and looking back at the details. So there's a learning curve, and I can't see how you're going to vote on the budget if we don't get it done by end of July until, at least September, and give somebody a month worth of learning. So we just, in my opinion, we don't need to fool around with not approving this budget today unless there's something significantly serious.
Commissioner Wilbur?
Ms. Beth, well, I understood it. If we had something today, you could do something in 2 weeks and have a re-hearing on their public hearing. Is that what you said?
No, sir. If you all try to add a nonprofit today, what we're going to have to do, number one, we have to suspend the rules in order to do so and then vote on it. And then the budget will just stall because we'll have to re-advertise to be able to notify the public that we're adding that. Then I'll also have to re-advertise the budget because it'll be increasing in expenditure that I've had to make sure that's in there. So I would encourage anyone who chooses to want to do that, let's wait and do that in July. If this budget's set, then you can come back and ask for it then. I'll still have to advertise it in the paper. What would be the most, what makes more sense to me? That's the intent. If you know there's one you want to add, then I would suggest you encourage Ms. Curry to call a budget meeting and let's do it that way. Do it through a budget committee. That way I've got adequate notice to be able to get in the paper, and that way it can get approved in July court. Instead of stalling it out even vote until August. But if you do it today, you're gonna not be able to vote on the budget itself, not just the nonprofits, because obviously the nonprofits are part of the budget.
But you possibly could get it done in 2 weeks before your advertisement and all that done, and you won't start a budget until end of next month, right?
We'll start July 1st, is our new fiscal year, yes.
And you touch on all these nonprofits for us, the maintenance effort, as far as the libraries, we've been over this, but will you touch on that for us?
My understanding, I don't have the document in front of me, so I'm gonna pull it from the hip, but the libraries are a part of the Bluegrass. I'm looking around for some of you who know this better than I do. I think it's the Bluegrass, the regional Bluegrass. My understanding there's a maintenance of effort that you have to give them the same level of funding as you did prior.
That's my understanding also.
Mr. Perry?
My understanding of it in the nonprofits was it was Giles County Library, Ardmore Public Library, but only two on here that come up with the maintenance plan. Is that right, or is that not?
As far as the maintenance of effort, I don't know specifically. I just know from what I've always been told. And I want to say, I don't know if Campbell's was a part of that or Montague, are they a part of this Bluegrass?
Might be with us.
Okay. Commissioner Pruitt?
I'd like to ask to suspend the rules and allow Cindy Nesbitt to address the court to explain the maintenance effort for the library.
I have a motion to suspend the rules to allow Ms. Nesbitt to come up. I have a second by Commissioner Wilbur. All in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Nesbitt, would you mind coming up?
As far as I understand, the maintenance of effort for libraries in the Buffalo River Regional Library System is we have to maintain what we do in the library, and the county has to maintain the same funding each year and the same, we sign that maintenance of effort. There's several things that you have to do every year. Within our region, in Buffalo River is Giles County Public Library, Ardmore Public Library,
Cindy, can you move that up just a little bit?
Giles County Public Library, Ardmore Public Library, and Minor Hill Public Library. It's within the region of the state, the regional library system.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Question, CB. does that not relate to the population and the numbers of people that use the library services? The maintenance effort is determined according to numbers?
Well, that's the official service area population. That's a little bit different than the maintenance of effort. That they determine what's on the official service area population, what part of the county that each library serves.
Any other questions for Ms. Nesbit? Stephanie?
What's the consequences if you don't follow the maintenance effort?
Well, it was on our application, the question was
I
on.
didn't read it.
Okay. If the maintenance of effort is not funded, the state can come in and take out every book, every piece of equipment that has been purchased by state and federal money.
I just want everybody to
You
know.
don't have computer services because we don't have an IT person. We will rely on the state to come down and take care of our computers.
Any other questions for Ms. Nesbit?
Well, it's not really a question. Not really a question for her, but it's like Stoney said, he didn't look at the application. I mean, what's the use of Minor Hill filling out an application if it was one prior to last year, if nobody looked at the thing? You know, and it's a maintenance of effort. I don't understand, why you need to fill out an application to get funded when it's a maintenance of effort anyway. But the reason we set up this application form is deter people from even asking for anything. And if they did have a large amount of money, that would, well, maybe we should have funded that. That was what I gathered from the application process. But that's not a question for her at this stage.
Commissioner Reed?
We did the same thing last year for Bill. Minor Hill had its money in July. It's just that through some technicality, the rules weren't met, and so that's why it didn't get in there. So Minor Hill will end up with this money. It's just going to be in July after the budget's been approved.
Any other questions for Cindy? All right. Thank you, Cindy. Bill, did you have an issue?
No, I just had a question for her about Elkton. Elkton is not on here, but Elkton is a branch of.
Use your microphone, we can't hear you.
I was asking her a question about Elkton, where I'm from. And Elkton has for years been a branch of the Ardmore, not the Ardmore, but the Child County Library. So we don't have to fill out that form every year. And I was asking her about the other small libraries, but Elkton is a very small library.
Commissioner Jones?
What I want to talk about is the library, continue the discussion. Giles County Library is not controlled by the county. It is a 501c3 organization, and we really don't have any control, or not much control over that library or the others that are private or we don't own the libraries. We do have one person from the commission on the board. I happen to be that one. The thing that happened recently where the public became aware of the transgender books that are geared toward children has got a lot of people talking, a lot of people fussing. I've had people say, do not fund the library, don't support it because of that. I've had other people say, whoever was responsible for that needs to be fired. My opinion is we should fund them, but we should put some conditions on the funding. And I would like to make a motion that those conditions apply to all the libraries. I have two conditions. Number one, that if they receive the money, that they would agree that any sexually explicit material aimed at children, which includes transgenderism, shall not be purchased or available at libraries that are subsidized by county funds. Number two, that Drag Queen, Story Hour, and other comparable programs not be allowed at the libraries. That is in the form of a motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I have a question.
Hold on, I gotta get a second first. Commissioner Pollard, were you seconding?
I'll second it on this books, yes, I will on it. This doesn't matter.
All right, now, question, Commissioner Reedy?
Yes. Is this something we can legally do now? Or it's just, you can't prevent the libraries from carrying that. You can, but you can't prevent the funding.
I would think so.
You can't go-
Commissioner Jackson?
The libraries is run by the board of directors. They set the rules. We don't set the rules for them. If you want to do something about it, you can cut their funding, but you're gonna wind up in the same hole that you're talking about. So we as county commissioners don't set the rules for board of directors. Now, yeah, that's probably the best thing that's been said here. But if they want, the board of directors want to do that, then they're the one that does it, not the county commission. We're just setting ourselves up.
Commissioner Pollard?
Yes, Doctor. And you talk about, we just told, you cannot stop funding the library. If we do, we'll get in trouble there. Okay, but I don't agree with some of these books that I've heard there. I don't agree with it. That's why I second the motion. But you gotta watch what you do legally.
So are you keeping your second?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Other discussion? Commissioner Curry?
I would much rather children, and granted, I'm not a parent, but I have several nieces and nephews. I'm a lifelong reader who has relied on books through times of need. I would much rather children go to the library and find a book that helps them, rather than searching the internet for misinformation. I do not think the county commission has any business dictating what books are in our public libraries.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Of course, we don't want our children to be exposed to inappropriate, from our perspective, material in any way. But we live in America, and I think that we all believe in freedom. And as a parent, I can certainly censor when my children were underage. I will caveat that. When they were underage, I could make some restrictions on my own. But am I not responsible for my family? And I think the country that we live in, called America, is all about freedom. So I find that it's hard for me to agree that our local county commission could be dictating morality. I'm opposed to that motion.
Commissioner Sutton?
I agree that the rules and regulations for the public library should be determined by the board of directors. I'm concerned that if we sit up and say you can only have certain types of books, we're restricting expression. And that's constitutional, and we don't want to know that. That's a losing battle, big time. But I think that the board of directors are the people who make decisions, plus the fact, find out when they meet, talk to the head librarian, express to them your concerns. If you like this, you don't like that, that's the way it has been done down through the years. Use that process. And like one commissioner said at another meeting, you don't follow the rules, you have chaos. So go through the board of directors and just work things out.
Other discussion, Commissioner Reed?
Okay, yeah, I'm all for not exposing children to things that would lead them to make decisions when they're not at an appropriate age to do that, and make them lean that way. So I'm all about children and children organizations, supporting them in scouts and youth groups and things. I guess I see the path that you would have to follow here is, since you can't tell a library what they can put in and what they can't put in, that there would have to be someone bring forward something and say they've got all this list of books and I don't recommend we support them. We can't tell them what to do. We can take the support away. So if there's not a list of books out there that says, that shows pretty good evidence that they are having an overpopulated number of books for that type of thing that would expose children to adverse things in their life, that I don't think we can take the money away from them, or we can take the money away from them anytime we want to. Have a budget, right? We can take the money away from them at budget time if we want to, and let them deal with the book supplier as they need to. But I don't think we can hire them to do it. What I'm saying is that there's things that you would like to do, but things that you can legally do and right to do. So I can't see that we can take the money away from the library unless there is overwhelming evidence that there is something wrong going on.
Commissioner Brown?
I think what's been said is true, and I agree with you. But I disagree that we are doing something that's really not concerning county commissioners. So I think we need to get back to what at hand for us. I feel that it's the parents' responsibility to decide what their children read and don't read, not ours.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Wilbur?
Well, what was the motion again? I understood something about a drag queen story hour. Is that in there?
It was.
Okay.
It was and Gail, correctly, do you mind, if you've got it written, if you better not than
That the money be given to the libraries with this condition, 2 conditions actually. That any sexually explicit material aimed at children, which includes transgenderism, it could also include pedophilia, shall not be purchased or available at any library subsidized by county funds. And number 2, and the reason I put number 2 in here is because this is happening across the country, that drag queen story hour and any other type or comparable program not be allowed. I'm not saying the library has plans to do that, but I do know that across the country this is the thing now. Okay.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Jackson?
I call for the question. Thank you.
Does say another question? Rose Brown? All in favor of the question, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So you are voting yes if you agree with the 2 stipulations that Commissioner Jones read, and you disagree with those 2 stipulations in order to get funding, you would vote no. Please, hold on, I've got a little confusion, hold on.
Repeat that, please.
You're going to vote on Commissioner Jones's motion. So if you vote yes, you're agreeing with the 2 stipulations that she just read. If you vote no, you're disagreeing with that. Is everybody clear? All right, please vote. Call for question, no more questions.
You just had a question. All right, I'm ready to vote.
Vote.
Vote is 16 noes and 5 ayes.
So the motion fails. discussion and motion before that, and that was to approve the list as presented on the resolution. Any more discussion on that? Commissioner Wilbur?
I'd like to add,
Brown?
I think it was 1850 that Minor Hill Library requested to keep up with the maintenance effort.
You're making that in form of a motion? All right, so Commissioner Wilburn has made a motion to add $1,850 for the Minor Hill Library. Commissioner Womble, do you
The
second?
rules will have to be suspended first before that motion can be made.
That's true. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules in order to consider the Minor Hill Library? I have a motion by Commissioner Wilburn. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Gale Jones. Now, this will require a 2/3 vote because it's going against the rules to put this up. So we'll have to have 14 yeses in order for this to be considered. Again, that goes per Rule 21 in our rules. So any questions? Beth, would you like to come up here, department head, you don't have to suspend the rules for you to come up.
Again, I want to remind everybody, if you vote yes on this, and you're going to kill the whole budget, as long as everybody understands that. I'm not saying I'm for or against any nonprofit give or city funds, I don't think that. It's just a budget, just make sure everybody understands what you're doing. You're going to delay the whole budget process if you vote yes.
And we're resetting the voting for just 1 second, please. Okay, so this vote will be to suspend the rules to consider Minor Hill Library. You're not voting yes or no for the library, we just have to suspend the rules in order to discuss and put a motion on the floor for the library. So again, it will require vote 14 2/3 in order for us to take discussion any further. Any questions on that before we vote? Commissioner Pollard?
Okay, I'm for the library, and I'm for you can arrange your money, but I think this needs to be put on until July after the budget starts, like it did last year when I brought it. I bet it was better than last year. So, just not stop the budget. I think maybe Tracy and the library need to do like I'm gonna do with New Canaan Ranch, because I'm coming back to ask like I did for the senior citizens last year too. So, I think we need to hold off on this and stop the budget. That's what's gonna happen. I'm for the library, but I'm not for what all this good cause, and you're talking about tax money. Okay, now, you do that, you go back into budget hearings and budget committees and everything, how much money you use there. That's what we'll get into.
Any other discussion before we suspend the rules vote? Beth?
And I just want to remind everybody too, Dr. Baird and I were just kind of briefly discussing that if we stall the budget past June, which their only alternative, if you don't approve today, we'll have to get into July. So all of the raises that are built in this budget for our school employees and our county employees, because every single person in county government, except for the ambulance service with their new adjusted salary schedule, which they've even had to be recalculated, then that means that will not be able to take into effect, because then we'll be operating on a continuing budget, which means all salaries would stay the same. Now, that may not sound like a very big deal. We can go back and fix it later. And I really probably should ask Nancy to come up to explain what that would have to do if we had to operate on a continuing budget, leave salaries as they are, then come back and adjust it, because I have confidence in you all that you're all going to approve a budget with raises. Then we're going to have to go back and prorate and adjust and fix. So please keep that in mind.
Commissioner Jackson?
Beth, could you remind me how many school employees we have, or do you know?
On payroll, I think we have, of course, this is including part-time, we have over 600. So we're looking at totally countywide, I'm just gonna say, shoot from the hip, we'd probably say 850. So 850 employees will be affected if you all do this. And I probably would have to ask for additional help to be able to get the salaries done, to be honest with you, if y'all do this.
Commissioner Wilbur?
That is unless you can get it done before. There's no way to get this done before our next fiscal budget. That's exactly what you're saying. There's no way to get it done.
Commissioner Jackson?
Trent, I wish you would reconsider this, just that, I'm honestly, want to help Monte Hill Library. It's no doubt in my mind that I want to do this, but we are going to affect a whole lot of people, here in the county if we put this prolonged effect. And I would guarantee you nearly 100% that it would pass and, with no problem. But, if we're going to have to hold this budget up, we just costing more than going to get out. I'd rather give you 10% increase on it, and that's what you should be getting, because it was 10% of it was taken away several years ago, and you had to make this effort then. But it would sort of be devastating to the teachers and the other employees here if we had to go through all this process again. I just would really like to consider that you would do it, and I would say that the first effective date, the chairman of the budget committee call a meeting in July and get this done so we can get it on court by the third week in July. Just think about who all you're going to affect with this.
Any other discussion before we take the vote to suspend the rules to even consider the library? Again, this is not voting for the library getting any funding. This is just to suspend the rules to discuss the library getting funding. Everybody clear? All right, please vote. Commissioner Brooks, yours didn't take.
Vote is 15 noes and 6 ayes.
So the motion fails, which takes us back to our original motion to approve everything as presented in the resolution. Is there any more discussion on that? And then again, the motion, I'm going to switch back from the 2/3, sorry. All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the resolution as it was presented in your packet. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion passes. Next order of business.
The next resolution is 2022-39, making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Giles County, Tennessee for the year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30, 2023.
Commissioner Curry.
I make a motion, we approve.
I have a motion, I have a second by Commissioner Woodard. Any discussion or questions? Commissioner Jackson?
We're on the, I got, I'm all right with everything except the general fund. The general fund is, because I'm gonna vote for it, but I see that we are stepping on slippery slope here. We spending money out of our fund balance for reoccurring expenses, and that's not good best business practice. It's always been against my grain of thought to not use your fund balance to balance your budget. You should do it with your expenditure and revenue. But this is a different year. I understand that and kind of reappraisal. But this new commission's coming on here, they need to have the hindsight that they don't need to be spending money out of your general fund to balance your budget. That's very bad practices, and sooner or later, it'll bite you in the hind end, especially if you have downturns in the economy. And we may be heading in that direction. But under the circumstance, I've talked with Beth, I've talked with Nancy, I've talked with Melissa, I've talked with other folks here, that the situation that the budget was, we were in this way, we didn't have no other choice to do that. But I just want to make that clear that you need to balance your budget with your revenue and your expenditure instead of getting into your fund balance.
Commissioner Perry?
I'd like to add to that a little bit. This is my 12th year being a county commissioner. In the first year I came on the commission, one of the first things I learned when it came about finances for the county is that you do not balance the budget with revenues that are not going to be reoccurring with expenses that will be reoccurring every year. So any non-reoccurring revenue that you vote to try to balance the budget, you're going to get yourself in big trouble. Down the road, you'll come back and have to pay for it. It's almost like a family of five, and they have spent everything they made, and then they spent more, and they had to take their savings out of their bank account to balance their budget, to pay all their bills for that. And chances are that may not get back in their savings account. So it's just bad policy to do that. They have non-reoccurring revenue to balance the budget up. You know it's going to be reoccurring expenditure. So I'm just, that should be a standard that we go by. Just bad financial patterns.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Vote is 17 ayes, 3 noes, 1 abstain.
The motion passes. Commissioner Harwell?
Let's ask for a 5-minute recess.
Got a motion for a 5-minute recess. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Gale Jones. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? 5 minutes. That'll be 10:55. Not sure if everyone's back yet. Everybody, you can see, I can see if we're missing anybody.
Get a piece of it.
All right, I'm gonna call us back in order. The next item of business,
The next item of business is resolution 2022-40, fixing the tax levy in Giles County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022.
Commissioner Curran.
Make a motion, we approve.
A motion and a second by Commissioner Pruitt. Any discussion or questions? Commissioner Wamble?
Would you state the rate again?
Yes, the new rate will be 1.9863. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
The vote is 21 ayes.
The motion passes. Next order of business?
The next resolution is 2022-41, to enter into negotiations for the purchase of the Giles County Baptist Association building for the ambulance service.
What are the wishes of the commission? Commissioner Butler?
I vote we approve.
Got a motion to approve, a second by Commissioner Wamble. Any discussion or question? Commissioner Jones?
Pastor Rick Billieu is here, and he's over the Baptist Association. And rather than hear from us, different ones of us secondhand, I was wondering if we might suspend the rules to allow him to address any concerns or questions. So I'd like to make that motion.
All right, I have a motion to suspend the rules. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Wamble. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're not coming up to voting. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Jones, do you have a specific question to start us out?
Sure. Pastor Billieu, I was wondering if you could tell the commission how y'all arrived at the 1.3 million as far as the asking price. And then tell us also the process you'll have to go through once an offer is made.
Yes, ma'am. Well, good morning. My name is Rick Billieu. I'm pastor at Richland Baptist Church. I'm also chairman of the steering committee for the Giles County Baptist Association. It's been approximately a little bit less than a year ago, it came to our attention, the association's attention, that the county was interested in our property and building for ambulance service. Great deal of discussion back and forth. The reality is, if you get 3 or 4 Baptists together, you're not going to get agreement. So we went back and forth for some time as to whether we should sell it or we should not. We started off with appraisal early in the year. The association agreed to have an appraisal done. The appraisal was performed. I have a copy of that, and I've given that to county representatives. The amount came in at $793,000 for the 11,000 square foot building and 10.4 acre property. In meetings, we looked at it and thought that seems a little bit low, but we are none of the members of the committee, steering committee, made up of 3 pastors and 3 laypersons. Our association is made up of 21 churches. Felt that we were qualified to really come to that conclusion, so we sought out some real estate agents to try to determine, aside from the appraised value, what the fair market value would be. And we had some comps done, comparables, which we also gave to county representatives that had 9 properties that one of the properties of these 9 were included in the appraisal. It was valued at $385,000, but it was selling for $990,000. So obviously there's a disparity between fair market value and appraised value. And upon the advice of the real estate agents, we felt that the 1.3 was fair. We discussed that several times. Our last steering committee meeting was a week ago last Monday, and everybody indicated that they were in agreement that the 1.3 was a fair price for the property and the building, especially in light of the comparables that were in the area. Our desire, there were of course some that did not want to sell the building, but many of the people in our association went ahead to vote to sell the building because it involves an ambulance service for the county. And as Christians, we think we want to do what we can to help the community, and so they voted to go ahead and sell the association building. And that's kind of where we are. That's kind of where we arrived at the price. And the process, I couldn't accept or deny any offer today. I'm not empowered to do that, nor could the steering committee. What we do is the steering committee would consider the offer. Again, they felt that the price of 1.3 is a fair price. And then we would take that to our executive board, which is made up of members from each church, and they would vote whether to accept the offer or not. And that's basically how the process would work.
Commissioner Jones?
Sir, of the 10.4 acres you have for sale, how much of that is usable land?
Well, I know that there's a portion that slopes up. I would say the majority, but I couldn't tell you the exact acreage in terms of what you would define as usable.
Because the word that has gone out in discussion before is that only about half of that 10 acres is usable land to expand or put any other buildings on.
I would think it's more than that, but again, I couldn't state for certain.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pollard?
Yes, sir. Have you had any problems with the board out there?
No, that question came up not too long ago. The 3 years that I've been chairman of the steering committee, we've had no problems with the septic system or the sewer system. But when the question came up, I did contact folks that have been there for years, longer than me, and I couldn't find anybody that ever knew of a problem with the septic system. And then I went ahead further and contacted Tommy Pope, who was involved in the installation of the septic system. And he came out and did an inspection. He said there was one minor problem with a pump not receiving electricity, but he thought that was very minor. But it's, well, so minor that it hasn't caused a problem with the septic system. And I'm not a septic expert.
Commissioner Jackson, did you have something?
Well, that's pretty well,
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Cicerini?
Yes, it's a very beautiful building. I've been out there walking around. How old is the building and how much did it cost to build it?
I wasn't here. I know it was done, I believe it was built between 1995 and 2000. I retired from the police department in Las Vegas and moved here in 2005 and became active in the association about 2006 and 2007. I don't know what it cost. I understand that it was churches coming together to build it. How much of that was volunteer work and contracted, I don't know. Sorry.
Any other questions? All right, Pastor Rick, thank you very much.
Yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
it.
Thank you.
All right, we're back to the original motion to approve the resolution as written. Any other discussion? Commissioner Jones?
I'd like to amend the motion to raise the price to 1.3. Not believe 1.2 has a chance of purchasing the building, because I know one of the laymen on this board had told me that he would like to, if we don't offer 1.3, they would like to list it with the real estate because the real estate agents have told them that they can get more than that. So for that reason, and because I think the ambulance service has to have a building that suits their needs, I'd like to raise the amount of offer to 1.3.
All right, I have an amendment on the floor to raise the offer to 1.3 million. A second, okay. Do I have a second? Commissioner Reedy, are you seconding?
I'm seconding with some discussion.
Hold on. All right, I've got you for a second. Now we'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Reedy?
Okay, I'm on the fence with this thing. I don't know where I'm gonna go, but if we make an offer, I think it should be. I may vote not to make an offer, but I think it should be what they're asking because I believe their assessment of the property is correct. I believe they'll get more than 3, and I think we should offer them 1.3. So if we're going to offer it or not make an offer at all.
Commissioner Wilbur?
Has anybody looked at the building and seen how much it's gonna cost to configure it the way it needs to be done for the ambulance service?
We asked Friendly Construction to walk through, and they did walk through with Roy, going over what we would need inside the building, how we would need it to be configured with living spaces, the kitchen, different things, and the ambulance area as well, and the morgue. I don't have any kind of budgetary number back from them. Commissioner Womble?
The original appraisal at 800,000 with the 1.2 offer that we determined to make, to allow you to make in the budget committee is 50% over the appraised price. 1.2 million is a great offer for that building. And I would ask, the Baptist in the community to remember this ambulance department is for everyone. But at 1.2, we're offering 50% or 51% over appraised value.
Commissioner Pollard?
Okay, here's the problem I have. Now, we don't know what's gonna cost to renovate it. Okay, now, here's what goes along with that. If you don't know what it's gonna cost, and you buy it, and whoever looks at it, well, I know I'm charging all I want to now because they're gonna do it. So, I think you need to find out what it's gonna cost to renovate it before you buy it, because when you buy it, you've already done it, and they know you've done it, and charge what they want to renovate, and that's the problem.
Commissioner Dwayne Jones?
The problem I have is the amount of money we're spending, over $1 million for 10 acres of land, and we don't know if we have 10 acres of land to be able to use. That's a lot of money, that's a lot asking our taxpayers to spend on land that is just gonna sit there and we can't put another building on it. We can't put a 911 center on it. We can't do anything because it's unusable land. And, the Reverend can't tell me how much land is there. So I can't vote in clear conscience to spend that money on land we can't use. I'm in favor of a new ambulance center. We've been doing this, 10 years? And we need a new ambulance center to have, but 10 acres for $1 million and we're only using maybe 5, 6, or 7 of it, that's a lot of money.
So several hands. Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you. Would it not make more sense to put 1.2 or $3 million in a new building? We got the land out there. Barry High took me out there. I done presented this to him. Took me out there and showed there's some land out there that's available. Look what it's gonna cost to renovate this building. We don't really know, but I'm pretty sure it'll cost you $500,000, if not more. We're not too good stewards of property that we buy here. We need to look at reality, and buying a building that's got to be renovated to fit ambulances. Ladies and gentlemen, to me, that don't make too much good sense. When you can build it, probably maybe even less than what you'd be putting in that building, and have what you want. You may go there and look at that building, and most of the structure is weight-bearing walls, and you can't tear some of that stuff out. You can't just make what you want to out of it. It's more to it than that. It may have asbestos in it. You go in there and tear it out, take out the asbestos in, look what that's gonna cost you. It costs you an arm and leg to get that out. It's be a whole lot more simpler to build something like you need, like Roy needs. We already got some kind of plans. We can sort of draw on those. And it's the land out there. Barry can fix it any way you want it to be fixed. We got plenty of rock down there at the Aggie Park. All you have to do is get it over there and level it up. It's there. Just look at what you're doing.
Commissioner Walpole?
I support us trying to purchase this ambulance department, because with renovations, the building cost at 1.2, somewhere in right in the close ballpark of $2 million, we can have a new facility of what our ambulance department needs. I don't think there's any chance of us building that building for $2 million. When I walked through that building, I looked at the electrical panels, and they're dated 2000. So that building was built in 2000. So asbestos is not a concern. I think it's our most cost-effective path toward having a new ambulance building for our ambulance department, if the Baptist of the county will agree to the 1.2 million asking price we've approved, Melissa do.
Other discussion? Commissioner Carey, then I'll get back to you, Ms. Jones.
I think that we could come out with a lot better deal, and with looking at the land that we already have, I think it would be, we would not only save money, I don't know what, we could build a tremendous building on that land for 1.2 to $3 million. But the thing is, someone, when we were talking about it in the committee meeting, mentioned, is it enough land? And I don't know, it's 3 or 4 acres. But look at the ambulance service now. It's probably not on 3 or 4. It's on less land than that. We've already moved 2 locations out, one in the south end of the county, one in the north end of the county. I think we have plans to move more now. So for the headquarters of the ambulance building, that land we've got now should be plenty large enough, because these ambulances are going to be sent out to branch locations. So I don't think, I think for 3 or 4 acres, you could build exactly what they need. And we don't know how many is going to be sent out to the branch locations before this, after this. So I think we ought to seriously look at this land Tony's offered up, that Barry told him about, and see if it's a feasible thing we can do. We'd probably wind up saving $500,000 or more.
Commissioner Jones?
One thing you learn in real estate school is location, location, location. And I think what you have with the Baptist Association building is location. Roy had mentioned that 911 could go there, could be built, so there's room to build another building. If you haven't been out there, you need to go out there and look. We would also offset the cost of putting the ambulance service out there with the disposal or the sale of the old ambulance building property. We have a small window, a narrow window of opportunity to purchase this property. So that decision has to be made today. You can, if you just think about all the pieces of property that we've looked at over several years, and they've not been in very good locations. As far as the property that we have, I assume you're talking about the property behind Looters. Of course, I guess we own it, but if we ever put in a justice center, don't you think maybe that land should be reserved for that, because it is so close to the county jail. I really think if you have $2 million in an ambulance service, you're gonna have a bargain. So I just urge people to think about the inadequacies of our present building. And do the people of this county need an ambulance service? I came to the conclusion that they need it and they want it. I can't imagine why we wouldn't proceed with something that's been so much talk for so long. So, my thought.
Any other discussion before we vote on the amended motion? Commissioner Cesarini?
I believe somebody said we're 43 days away from another county commission. This money's just not sitting there waiting for us to spend it. This is coming out of our fund balance. And as Tony said, we keep dipping into the fund balance. So are we not tying the hands of the next commission? Are we not tying the hands of people that are not currently in this room? So I assume this money's coming out of the American Rescue Plan. But we all know that the rules keep changing. I would hate for us to tie the hands of the commission down the road and then find out we misspent the money. I don't know why we can't wait 43 days. We've been waiting, as you said, 10 years. We've been waiting 20 years for a new high school. So I would say, I hate to make any kind of decision based on, I have to make a decision today. Again, this is not life and death. This is an ambulance service that we know is currently having problems. We currently have problems with keeping people in the ambulance. We have problems with keeping the ambulance staffed. The way I understand it, they're not just building very much now anyway because they're on the road all the time. So I would prefer to delay this decision till after August 4th. Thank you.
Any other? Commissioner Harville?
Call for question.
Motion for question. Commissioner Pollard, second that?
Yes.
All in favor of question, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, what you're voting on first is the amended motion to offer $1.3 million. Please vote.
Vote is 18 noes and 3 ayes.
Motion fails. We go back to the original motion to offer $1.2 million as the resolution's written in front of you. Any more discussion on that? Okay, please vote.
I think I made the wrong button. How do you get this to change?
It won't change. If you'll hit confirm, and we won't reveal it yet.
I think I pressed the wrong button.
And then if you'll announce what your vote was.
No.
So let the minutes reflect that Commissioner Harville's vote is a no. Hold on. Commissioner Cesarini, did you hit the wrong button?
No. I think I pushed the wrong button.
You pushed the wrong button? How, before we reveal it, how would you like your vote to?
No.
No. So let the minutes reflect that Commissioner Cesarini's vote is no. Please reveal the vote.
That will make it 15 noes and 6 ayes.
He voted no on there.
This was already.
I think Cesarini's a no too, so it's correct. So
That's correct. So 13 noes and 8 ayes.
So the motion fails.
Ask if anybody wants to change the vote.
Can't change it there.
Not after you reveal the vote is what it is. So that motion fails. Next order of business.
Next order of business is new business, or unfinished business.
any unfinished business to be brought forward today? Next order of business?
Next order of business is new business.
Any new business for today? I will share that the new voting software, we're in the process of programming your tablets. Each one of you will have a tablet in front of you instead of voting remotes. It will be connected to the TV screen that you see up there. We will have a training session so that hopefully at our July 4th, we'll be ready to use that new software. But we will try to have maybe a committee meeting in this room, and after that committee, we'll go over a little bit of the training for about 10 minutes on how that will work, so we're not in the middle of July 4th trying to figure that out as well. New business, Commissioner Curry?
We're gonna have the budget committee meeting on July 1, which is next Friday at 9 a.m.
Any other new business? Commissioner Wilbur?
What's the agenda?
The Monterey Public Library.
Commissioner Wobble?
To avoid having an $800 committee meeting to approve an $1,800 expenditure, could we just put it on the agenda for our July full court? You understand, when we have a commission meeting, it costs $800 to pay everybody.
Commissioner Wilbur?
Or could it be done in new business today?
We need a budget committee meeting anyway, not just for this one item.
Because that committee, that's full committee.
Budget committee,
Yes, budget meeting will be July 1st at 9 a.m. We'll send out those notices this afternoon. I think there's additional budget items as well, so we'll put it all together in that one meeting for the committee.
Okay. Just for clarification, could it be done today?
I don't believe so.
Since the budget's already passed?
That'd be a bad question, Jeff.
Well, you're really asking me a question that I don't know the answer to. If you put it on if you vote on it today, are you asking to vote on it to go ahead and put it in the paper today? To notify, or what actually are you wanting, what do you want to do wrong?
My question was, what's the difference in not doing it today versus the next meeting, other than going through the budget committee? Everything don't have to go through a committee to be done here.
I suppose you all can make the motion to do that, just to advertise that it could be approved in the July court. I suppose you could do that to make the motion to advertise it to, publicly, and then that way you could, approve it in July. Because obviously it can't be approved anyway until it's been advertised. So I don't really see why you all couldn't go ahead and make that decision to put it, for it to be in the paper, and then you all will come back and vote on it in July. I think you probably could do it that way.
Commissioner Wobble?
Can be funded from the 21-22 budget fund balance. Would that be less?
No, because our fiscal year will end June 3rd, which will be next week, and that would not give you adequate time to put it in the paper.
Commissioner Curry?
I was just gonna say, since we need a budget committee meeting anyway, and it will be in time for the July, right, with the advertisement be done in time for the July voting.
Yes, we will need to have a budget meeting in July at some point. Simply for the reason why, just kind of for clarification, is that we've been trying to do every year. We've got a lot of outstanding purchase orders that we'll need to roll into the new fiscal year, and I like to do that in July, just where we can make sure that before we close our books, we kind of got that in place. And also, we're going to discuss adding back the patrol cars that we took out, so I know that's an item that we needs to be brought back and discussed, as it was stated in the budget committee. So we do need to have a budget meeting in July anyways, but that's really up to you all what you will do. How soon do you want that funding approved? You want it funded in July? It's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and make that motion, just to get it in the paper. But if it's not any hurry, then I would suggest just let it go with the budget and just go from there.
Beth, let me, for what Tracy's wondering here, if we wait till July 1st, it still goes in the paper after July 1st, no different than it goes in the paper next week. There's still time and it still has to be approved at July court. So whether we do it today or do it July 1st, it doesn't speed the process up. Is that a correct statement? That it still can be approved in July court if we go ahead and do it at the budget meeting July 1st?
That's correct, yes.
So Tracy, I guess the answer is whether we vote on it today or July 1st, go for the budget, it's not going to speed it up. Either way, it'll still get approved in July court. Does that clarify?
I was just gonna make sure she had the time to get everything she needs done in the paper without going through a bunch of problems.
Yeah, July 1st being on a Friday, and that's that morning meeting, then it can get to the paper that afternoon to be in that next week's paper, which gives it correct enough time to be before July court. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, I think so, that should be, I think that our July, is the 18th, I believe, is that correct? I think that's our next meeting time, so I think so. Might be on a Friday, I can get it in the paper, by noon, I think we'll have adequate time.
That should get it in the paper on the 6th, and you have that 10 days before the meeting, so that would be fine for that. Commissioner Pollard?
Okay, now, you need to have a budget committee meeting because this is not the only one that's gonna come back up to be funded. It will be some more. Because I know I'm going to $2,000 you can rent. So there's gonna be some more to come up that was in the non-profit for this year. So, you know, you might as well wait till the 1st of July because you're not gonna have time to do it right now.
Commissioner Harwell? Is there any other new business? Seeing none, I have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Harwell, a second by Commissioner Dwayne Jones. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.